What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to this week's first full podcast episode of the greatest podcast on turf. I'm Anthony.
I'm Ryan.
It's week 15 here. Fantasy football playoffs are upon us, or they start next week for some of you. I'm in leagues where it is this week, and it is also starting next week. So, start 'em, sit 'em time.
Yep.
With every team playing this week, it was very tough.
And it shouldn't have been.
I had a lot of guys to watch out for, a lot of guys that are like lock starts, a lot of guys that are maybe starts, a lot of guys that are definite sits, and a lot of guys that were maybe sits. So we're going to kick off with that. Don't forget to like, subscribe. As always, check out our sponsor, My Family's Business, Literally Pizza Shop, best cheesesteaks and pizza in Delaware. Link to the website's in the description. If you go in, you're eligible for a 10% discount, or maybe me or my dad will buy you a meal. Start us off with your stardom quarterback. Let's get right into it.
I did two guys. The first guy is a streamer guy that you probably don't feel confident starting in your first round of playoffs. It is Mike White against Detroit. Grant, if you want to, go ahead. I commend you for...
Hold on real quick. Sorry to cut you off. Disclaimer. It's Tuesday, December 13th at 12:20.
Yeah.
A lot of guys are battling injuries. I feel like last week there was a lot of injuries. So be mindful. These things are subject to change, but for the most part, you're picking up what we're putting down.
Mike White is questionable, and he claims that he's ready to go. Going up against Detroit, that's allowed the most points to quarterbacks, I feel like he should have decent success, and he will definitely be on some daily fantasy teams for me.
Oh, yeah.
Will I start him in my week-long leagues or my season-long leagues? Probably not. But the next guy I want to mention is Dak Prescott. Now, this is more of the season-long type of situation. He hasn't had the best last couple games, 17, 18, 16. But this week against Jacksonville, I think it's going to be brighter for him. Jacksonville, I think, in theory, this can go one of two ways. One way is the Dallas Cowboys absolutely destroy them, which is similar to like a Minnesota game where Dak's still at about 20. Or we get a shootout in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence does his thing, and they have to throw a lot. Either way, Jacksonville doesn't do that good against the pass, and I think Dak Prescott can find success early and often. Weather shouldn't be much of a problem here in Jacksonville. So give me Dak Prescott as a start this week.
My starter quarterback. I've said this guy way too much this year.
Is that who I think it is?
And just hear me out. He is in concussion protocol currently. So if he's healthy, it's Russell Wilson.
I'd rather start Mike White.
It's always been Russell Wilson.
I would rather start Mike White.
It's always been. He's coming off his best game of the season against the Chiefs, 250 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and about 60 rushing yards. They're playing the Cardinals this week at home in Denver, a Cardinals team that got absolutely demoralized by my New England Patriots 2 nights ago. When you guys are seeing the
part of that is because,
and which I was getting to. And they're without their quarterback. They're 5-8 now. They're like 5-8, something like that. 5-4. No, they're 4-9. They're not playing for anything at this point. A win against Denver isn't going to do anything. The team looked absolutely demoralized last night. James Conner had nothing left in the tank. D-Hop fumbled. Colt McCoy came in, did his thing as a backup. But the Broncos, they have one of the best defenses in football. The Broncos are somehow still in the hunt in the AFC for a playoff spot. So they're playing for that. Nathaniel Hackett's playing for his job. Russell Wilson is playing for his legacy. It was always Russell Wilson. Now again, I understand if you are not going to listen to this, I do. But trust me, it was always Russell Wilson. If you had just lost to Kyler Murray for the season, if you're a guy that has a Lamar Jackson and you've been streaming quarterbacks and Lamar could be out this week, Mike White, Russell Wilson, not bad options this week. You heard it here first. It was always Russell Wilson.
Going over to sit-em quarterbacks, I picked Tua going at Buffalo.
I liked this.
Multiple reasons. One of those reasons is at Buffalo, so it's not a good place to be. If there's any type of weather at all, it's just ugly. The next reason, Tua hasn't been good the past couple weeks, and I just don't think it's safe to trust him against Buffalo, who has one of the best defenses in football. I think Tyreek Hill's banged up. He's going to play, but he's still banged up. The O-line's banged up. It's just not a great situation right now.
No.
And they need to turn it around. If they end up missing the playoffs again with 10 wins, I'm just going to be amazed. because I feel like that's the Miami thing to do. They've missed the playoffs past 2 years with 10 wins. I just don't see them getting back on track this week. They end the season on an absolute gauntlet. Hopefully it's this week. Either way, I just don't see Tua doing that good at Buffalo.
The Patriots run the gauntlet too after this week. Cincy, Miami, Buffalo to wrap the season up. So, it's just an AFC East thing. Tough schedule.
That's not even close to this one. San Fran, Chargers, Buffalo, Green Bay, New England. And then there's one more after that.
Okay. My sit-em quarterback this week.
You're just hating on Miami.
Geno Smith, home Thursday night. Tomorrow night versus the Niners. Geno Smith, week 2, he had his worst outing of the season against the 49ers. He was held to 197 passing yards and 2 rushes for 2 yards with an interception. The Panthers held Geno Smith without a touchdown last week. The 49ers have the best defense in football. The 49ers are heating up with Brock Purdy at quarterback. It's just a bad beat. Yeah, Geno Smith, he's been solid all year. In the team's last few games, he's had 20. They're 1-2 in their last 3. He had 20, 24, and 22. Against the Niners earlier in the season, he had 7, and they got blown out 27-7. Yeah, they're the home team. I don't really care. The Niners have looked like one of the best, if not the best team in football lately. They know what's at stake here. The top of the NFC is really heating up with Dallas and Philly, both having fairly easy schedules this year. Niners know they got to win to try and secure home field throughout the playoffs. So they're going to kill Seattle this week. Geno Smith is not him. He is not going to have a good week this week. So sit Geno Smith this week versus the Niners.
Jumping over to the running back side, and the first running back I want to talk about is Isaiah Pacheco going up against Houston. Pacheco, the next 2 weeks, including this week, he has 2 easy schedule games. Houston being the most points allowed to running backs, and then Seattle being the second most points allowed to running backs. He's getting about 15 to 20 touches a game, give or take. Jerick McKinnon's also getting involved. The Chiefs said they were going to do that, and they're sticking to it. However, in these past couple weeks, he's done really good. In standard format, he's right around 10 to 15 points every single week. I'm about to pull up PPR now. I know he doesn't catch a lot of passes, though, which is his one downfall. Yeah, in PPR last week, he had about 12, 16, 15. Now going up against Houston, the game script should be there. If the Chiefs absolutely blow them out, who are they going to get the ball to? It should be Isaiah Pacheco. The Chiefs should have no problem scoring on this defense, so he should get red zone looks. Really, if you're getting 15 to 20 touches on this caliber of an offense, you're pretty much a start. And then going up in this matchup makes you even more of a start.
But yeah, I like Isaiah Pacheco as a start this week. You pretty much hit the nail on the head. When you got a guy that's getting 10, 15 touches in the best offense in the league, it's kind of a given to start. First start I'm running back of this week, and it is going to go one of 2 ways. Cordero Patterson. Desmond Ridder, it is his first start. Falcons are coming off the bye. This is either going to go... Earlier in the season when they played, Cordero Patterson had 22 touches for 120 yards and a touchdown. Started the season off really hot. So he's either going to see similar success. He should be fully healthy. He should be seeing less of a limited workload coming off the bye than he's been seeing since his knee injury because he had the extra week to recover. So he's either going to come out and have a good game, or the Saints are going to load the box and make Desmond Ridder beat them. This is just a play based off of how ballsy you're feeling. Everybody is playing this week, so there's not a lot of guys who are out that you may have to make the start. Me personally, I'm starting Cordero Patterson. I think he's in for a good week against the Saints, who have been really hit or miss against the run. They're think about middle of the pack in terms of league average yards per game given up. So you got that going for him, but I think that the Falcons coming off the bye are really going to look to help try and establish a run game early to try and help the offense flow a little bit better for Desmond Ridder. So I would say start Cordero Patterson this week.
Staying in that same aspect, I said to start Alvin Kamara going up against Atlanta. Now it's kind of touchy because Alvin Kamara hasn't been doing nothing this year. He had one stretch down the start/middle of the year where he looked absolutely phenomenal, and then he fell off a cliff.
Yep.
Now going up against Atlanta, I think he could do pretty good. They are coming off of a bye week, which should be good for everybody's health. He should get back healthy. I know he had a rib problem, so hopefully that improved a little bit. And going up against Atlanta, who don't have the greatest defense, I could just see Kamara having a pretty good day. I could see the offense having a good day. This is a division game, so there should be some type of stuff on the line. It's in New Orleans.
You know how he gets around the holidays.
Yeah, he's very festive. So give me Kamara as a start this week against Atlanta.
My second stardom running back of the week, Brian Robinson Jr. of the Washington Commanders, playing at home versus the New York Football Giants. Before the bye week when these two teams played, Brian Robinson had a pretty solid outing, finishing with 21 rushes for 96 yards. He did haul in 2 targets for about 20 yards in that game also. Brian Robinson is a running back that has averaged over 100 rushing yards in his past 2 games. I know it's a small sample size, but the offense has been flowing really good because Taylor Heineke hasn't been playing all that great, but they have been able to establish a run game with Brian Robinson, which has helped the offense flow a lot better. And we're playing against a Giants team that has kind of fallen off a cliff in terms of defense due to injuries. I mean, Leonard Williams hasn't been playing. I know Dexter Lawrence wasn't himself versus Philly. So, I mean, I think Washington's going to come out here. It is a home game. Both of these teams trying to fight for a playoff spot at this point. It's a must-win game for both teams. Washington is another team that are they coming off a bye? Yeah. They're coming off the bye week. It's another week for them to put in some new game script, put in some new plays. Another week for Ryan Robinson to get acclimated. They're going to come out here. They're going to establish an early run game, get the offense flowing like they've been doing all year against their divisional opponents. We saw them do it against Philly. We saw them do it against the Giants 2 weeks ago. Brian Robinson is in for another monster day, so start Brian Robinson Jr. this week versus the Giants.
Jumping over to the sit side of things, the first guy...
real quick, I'm sorry. Another running back maybe you can start if... depending on the situation, Cam Akers playing against the Packers. The Packers are a bottom 10 team against the run. Just throwing it out there. It is going to be a cold one in Lambeau. So Cam Akers might not be another bad start / daily fantasy play.
Jumping over to the sit side of running backs, I chose Kenneth Walker going up against San Fran. San Fran has the best defense in football, the best run defense in football, and Kenneth Walker is banged up with a bad ankle. Nothing here is saying that it's going to be a good outing besides Kenneth Walker being good at football. Because other than that, it just feels like the Niners are going to blow him out and it's not going to be good for him.
Nope.
If Cam Akers is banged up all week and he's like a questionable tag coming into this game, I feel like it's smart to sit him. It might be getting too cute to some, and if you are, up in the air, ask us. But it's just Kenneth Walker with a bad ankle going up against the best defense in football. It just doesn't scream like a good idea to me.
No.
At the first time that they played, he didn't do anything. Granted, he wasn't really established at the time. But nobody does anything against San Fran.
Nope.
So, Niners, 70 rushing yards per game and the fewest fantasy points to running backs. So, sit him if you can. He's definitely a daily fantasy sit.
Just to throw it out there, earlier in the season when Rashad Penny was the starter against the Niners, he was held to 6 rushes for 15 yards.
Yeah, so nobody's doing anything.
No. First sit-em running back of the week. I said the Dolphins running backs against the Bills, or in Buffalo. I've been very high on Jeff Wilson since he went to the Dolphins. He had a hip injury. Mike McDaniel said that he avoided a serious injury, which is good. But with the offensive line being banged up and with the Bills' defense, especially in the front 7, really getting hot, this just isn't a good matchup, and the game script really isn't there either. Earlier in the season when these two teams played, Raheem Mostert didn't do anything. I'm pretty sure he had under 6 rushes, and that was back when Chase Edmonds was there, and Chase Edmonds didn't do anything either. So, I mean, really thinking about it, the game script's not there. It is going to be in Buffalo. The Dolphins' O-line's banged up. The Bills' defensive line is heating up. The Bills are heating up as a whole. And if it is a cold game, Buffalo will load the box to try and counter the run and make them throw the ball in the cold with a banged-up Tyreek Hill, with Tua, who hasn't been playing good, behind a banged-up offensive line. This game just screams bad vibes for the Dolphins, so sit the Dolphins running backs this week.
My next running back to sit is Leonard Fournette against Cincy. This is if you're in a league like half PPR or standard. Full PPR, I feel like you have to start him because he's getting 6 catches, and that's just such a good floor. But anywhere else, I just don't feel like it's a great sit or start. I mean, it seems like he's losing his job to Rashad White.
Yeah.
Kind of saw it coming somewhat. Kind of thought it was going to be more of a split, but it seems like Rashad White is getting pretty much all the rushing work. And I just don't see him doing too good against Cincy, who has a pretty good run defense. Granted, if you are in a PPR league, you have to start him because they're going to be playing from behind, and he's probably going to get 5 to 6 catches, which equivalates to 10 fantasy points just like that, and then anything else in terms of touchdowns are on top of that. But if you're in a standard, I could genuinely understand you sitting Leonard Fournette.
Yeah, And this next running back, this is a tough call for me, honestly. I wanted to put him on the list. We already had somebody reach out to him. We've had 2 people reach out to us about this guy. We had one today and one Sunday morning. Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants. He's battling a neck injury. The Giants got blown out. He didn't play a lot. He saw a season-low 11 touches. Against Washington 2 weeks ago, he had 63 rushing yards with a rushing touchdown, which helped his case. He did also have 5 receptions, so that's an extra 5 points. Now, granted, he only had 18 yards. So, really, he was kind of saved by the touchdown and the receptions. I mean, with the touchdown and the receptions allowed for 11 of his 19 points. So, I mean, it's a tough call. It's an injured Saquon Barkley against Washington, who's top 3, who has given up the 3rd least amount of points to running backs in fantasy football throughout this year. It's a really tough call. I understand you got to start your best players. We always say don't get too cute. But this is a case of he might be banged up still. He's got a neck injury. It lingered in the last week. Didn't help him. He got a stinger in practice. Stingers aren't good for running backs because one false move and you're reactivating it, and it is not a good feeling getting a stinger.
I do have a question though when you're done.
And yeah, so I would say don't make this decision today. You guys are watching this Wednesday. They don't play till Sunday night. But just toward the end of the week, once the injury report's out and once you see how we're feeling, make your decision. Reach out to us. Give us a comparison. I mean, it's much easier for you to give us 3 running backs on your team and let us pick 1 or 2 to start over just should I start Saquon this week? So, yeah, what's your question?
Bringing up the don't get too cute question. Your starting running back this week is Brian Robinson, who is playing against Mr. Saquon Barkley. What is the decision?
Between the 2 of them?
Yeah.
Brian Robinson. I'm going with my gut,
Okay.
Brian Robinson.
I think that is 100% getting too cute, and I'm starting Saquon.
Really?
Yep.
With an injury?
Yep.
Who just saw
Textbook definition of getting too cute.
Who just saw a season low 11 touches and
Textbook
7
definition of getting
points?
too cute.
I don't think so.
Textbook.
I mean, we'll just assume my running backs in this league: Lenny, Zonovan Knight, Brian Robinson Jr. Come on.
The question was Barkley or Brian Robinson Jr.?
Brian
No, I'm
Robinson.
doing Barkley.
That's fine. I'm just saying, I'm not saying Saquon's 100% sit. Just be mindful. Reach out to us later in the week.
At this point, if you're starting Brian Robinson, he is damn near 100% sit. So, take it how you want it.
Moving on. Who is your second sit-em running back?
I already did both of mine.
Oh, did you? Starting receivers of the week. I had like 3 guys. First one being Chris Olave. Chris Olave against the Falcons earlier in the season, he had 10 points. He has been very inconsistent the past 5 weeks, 13-7, 20, 11-10. This is the week where he bounces back. They're playing the Falcons at home. They're coming off the bye week. It's been inconsistent with play with Andy Dalton, been at quarterback. The offense the Saints have been such a weird team. Because in theory, they have the players on offense to be good, but they're just not. And like we talked about on the podcast yesterday, they could literally beat any team. But I'm saying start Chris Olave. This is his bounce back week. Saints are coming off the bye. He's got a pretty solid schedule the next 3 games: Atlanta, Cleveland, Philly. He's gone over 60 receiving yards in the past 3 games. The Falcons defense has allowed I think it was the 5th or 6th most points to opposing receivers in fantasy football. So that is playing in the favor of Chris Olave, who's the only receiver on this team right now. Yeah, Jarvis Landry's there, but Chris Olave is receiver 1. So start Chris Olave this week against the Atlanta Falcons.
Also starting Garrett Wilson this week against Detroit. Detroit, they're not that good on defense, especially when they're not at home, and they're not at home. Obviously check the weather because this is in New York, New Jersey, whatever the hell. Isn't there a stadium in Jersey?
Yeah, it's North Jersey.
Yeah.
I don't know why I blanked out for a second.
And it could be bad weather. I don't think it's supposed to be, but you never know what could happen up north. So We're staying up north. Like it's far away.
It's like anyways 2 hours from us.
Never know. We could have it up there. But if it's a sunny day, wind's okay. Garrett Wilson should be a start. The last few weeks he's been really good with Mike White. I think it's going. Mike White and Garrett Wilson going to throw the ball around the yard, and it's going to be a great day for the Jets. Great day for both offenses, I think. I think it's a bright future ahead.
Slam the over.
Unless snow happens all the way up there.
Yeah. Next start wide receiver, Michael Pittman Jr. of the Indianapolis. Playing against the Vikings, who just got killed by DJ Chark, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams.
But they were all big plays.
They were all big plays, but Michael Pittman's due. He got gunned down 2 weeks ago.
Somebody that can make a big play. Michael Pittman.
He's due.
That's fair.
He's that receiver that'll catch a slant.
No, he is not.
Yeah, he is. He'll catch a slant, break a tackle, and go for like 30 yards on a slant.
30, okay.
I'm not saying he's not going to break an 80-yard Tyreek Hill slant, but he's good for a 30, 40-yard slant every now and then. He's only seen the end zone twice this year. He scored 2 games ago. They played the Cowboys the week before the bye and got embarrassed. Like, absolutely gunned down.
Just in a fourth.
The final was 54-19. There's no justifying that.
It was 20-19.
I understand, but the final 15 minutes, Dallas put up 34.
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything. And Colts didn't do anything. This is the revenge week for Michael Pittman. The Vikings defense, not the revenge week. This is his get back. The Vikings secondary is bad. They are bottom 3 in the league in terms of yards given up to receivers in fantasy football. The Vikings are a team that can score a lot on offense, but their defense also gives up way too many points. So I'm saying start Michael Pittman Jr. this week pretty confidently. And also, if you do need to start him tight end this week, Greg Dulcich of the Broncos versus the Cardinals. The Cardinals are the worst team in the league against tight ends this year. He finished 1 target shy of team leader behind Jerry Jeudy with 8 targets. He's seen 8 targets over the past 2 games. They have him playing in the slot as well, which can only benefit him as a tight end in the Broncos offense that finally started to click last week. So if you need to start him tight end this week, just to throw it out there, Greg Dulcich.
And my second receiver spot, I am starting Mike Williams this week against Tennessee. It's a little obvious, yes. Did I say Mike Williams because I feel like I've been backing this guy for way too long.
It's been 2 years. It's literally been 2 years.
No.
Because you backed him all last season, too. Like all off-season, all fantasy football.
I don't think so.
Mike Williams was your guy.
I think it was this year.
It was both years.
No, because he got paid this year.
I understand, but last year you were high on him, too. Because I've been saying for the past 2 years that he sucks, and you're like, no, he's fine. And we've had this debate for the past 2 years.
I really don't think so. But
we've been doing this debate for 2 years on the podcast.
I'm going to pull up a video and see if he's on some type of video, because I really don't think so, but I'm not willing to argue it.
It's fair.
But at the same time, Mike Williams, going up against Tennessee, the easiest pass defense. The Chargers should be looking to make their playoff run and do whatever the hell they can to get a higher wild card spot or whatever they want to do.
Brandon Staley's fighting for his job.
And Mike Williams is a dog.
And I didn't realize I'm the asshole that's been calling for Cliff Kingsbury's job, not remembering he's extended till 2027. I realized that last night and I was like, fuck. It's like now I look like an asshole.
When did he get extended?
The off season.
So it's
right before Kyler got paid, the GM and Cliff got extended and paid.
Yeah. It's going to be hard to fire a guy that you just extended.
I mean, they did it with Matt Rule and John Gruden.
Yeah.
So, and Cliff Kingsbury's a fucking terrible head coach.
Anyway, start Mike Williams.
Sit 'em pass-catching receivers. First one, Drake London. There's got to be a better receiver to start than Drake London with rookie Desmond Ridder coming in at quarterback against the Saints secondary that's been solid all year.
I don't like my starters sit-em receivers at all.
I like Drake London, but the other ones are kind of just injury-based.
My first sit-em receiver is Marquise Brown. Is a kicking dog? Absolutely. Denver has a great passing defense, and Kyler Murray's hurt. I said all Cardinal receivers. I think DeAndre Hopkins, you would have to ask us our opinion, because he's one of those guys that he's going to get the ball a shit ton of times. Mm-hmm. But there's not going to be a lot of scoring in that game. So sit the Cardinals receivers if you can. Marquise Brown, he had a great start to the season, and so much for that.
Yep.
But it was so beautiful the first
Seems to be
weeks.
it's a fitting trend for him. He's like Mike Williams. Starts the season off hot and...
No.
Like Mike Williams last year. I'm sorry. Like Mike Williams last year. I'm sorry.
Because Mike Williams is a dog.
Okay, I'm sorry. I fixed my phrase. My apologies. Now, would you like to continue or am I moving on?
Moving on, because I can't just kick Hollywood Brown into the ground.
This is based off of quarterback injury. This is the Steelers wide receivers going against the Panthers if Kenny Pickett is out.
That's worse than mine.
I know. Just say if Kenny Pickett's out, Najee Harris is going to see a bulk of workload because Mitch Trubisky sucks and he sucked against the Ravens when he came in.
My next one, this is like, it's going to end up biting me in the ass, and I'm just guarantee it.
Oh my God, are you fucking crazy?
Yep. Devontae Smith.
Wow.
He has been really good this season.
I almost said start him.
He's been really good this season, and I'm not going to bullshit you guys. However, and this is getting too cute if you said I'm against some other people. Would I rather start Mike Williams or Devontae Smith? I'm starting Mike Williams, me personally.
How good is your receiving room in this situation if you can afford to not start them both? Like,
do you know my podcast, the podcast league?
Fair.
But Devontae Smith going up against Chicago at Chicago, I think the Eagles are going to run the ball. It's the Windy City. It's going to be cold.
Windy City.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. That's why I almost, in the best bets video, took Chicago plus 8.5 because I thought that was just way too damn much. This game screams 20-17. But it's probably going to be in Philly blowing them out. Daily fantasy, don't start Devontae Smith. That's all I'm saying. Daily fantasy.
Don't start DJ Moore either.
Thanks.
I kicked the shit out of the dog on this one. He literally didn't. He went catchless against Seattle. That's enough said. Again, if you guys have any questions, please reach out to us. We want to help the best way we can. We're credible guys. We know what we're talking about. Reach out to us. Comment on this video. Message us on Instagram. Message my personal Instagram. Hit us up somewhere. We will get back to you. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.
Peace.